Do you ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, trying to make some huge, life-altering change, but nothing really sticks? Yeah, we're always told that big goals need these massive, heroic actions, but what if that's all wrong? Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It's the idea that real, incredible transformation doesn't come from a single big push. It comes from the tiny, almost invisible things you do every single day.
So let me just ask you this. Forget about a complete life makeover for a second. Can you get just 1% better today than you were yesterday? That's it. It sounds like almost nothing, right? So small you probably wouldn't even notice. But this is where things get kind of mind-blowing. That tiny 1% improvement, it doesn't just add up. Oh no, it compounds. It multiplies on itself. So if you get 1% better every single day for a year, you don't just end up 365% better, you end up 37 times better. That's the absolutely staggering power of these tiny atomic habits.
Okay, think about it like this. Imagine a plane taking off from Los Angeles, and it's headed for New York City. Now, if the pilot just adjusts the nose of that plane by 3.5 degrees, a tiny little shift nobody on board would even feel, that plane isn't going to land in New York anymore. It's going to land in Washington, D.C. Your daily habits, they're that tiny shift. They feel completely insignificant in the moment, but over time, they determine your entire destination.
So what's actually going on inside our brains that makes all this work? If we really want to change our habits, we've got to understand them first. So let's peek under the hood a little bit and get into the science of what makes a habit a habit.
Turns out every single habit you have, the good ones, the bad ones, all of them, follows this exact same four-step loop. It always starts with a cue, which is just a trigger. Let's say it's the end of a long, stressful day at work. That cue then creates a craving, that urge to just unwind and relax. The craving then drives your response. Maybe you grab a bag of chips, and finally, you get the reward, that immediate feeling of comfort. Understanding this loop, well, that's the key to everything.
And here's the cool part. Once you see that four-step loop, you realize you can actually tinker with it. You can become the engineer of your own habits. And this brings us to the core toolkit from the book, the 4 laws of behavior change. We can use them one way to build good habits and then just flip them around to break the bad ones. It's brilliant. Let's unpack this.
All right, let's start with the fun stuff. How do you actually design good habits and make them stick? It all boils down to 4 simple rules that work with your brain's natural programming, not against it.
The very first law is all about visibility. You see, you can't act on a trigger that you don't even notice. So the goal is super simple. You have to make the cues for your good habits totally, completely obvious. For instance, let's say you want to read more before bed. Don't just rely on willpower. That's a losing game. Make the cue impossible to miss. Literally put the book you want to read right on your pillow. That way, when you go to get into bed, the cue is physically in your way. You're not trying harder. You're just designing your environment for success.
Okay, so you've made the cue obvious. That's step 1. But we're human, right? Our habits are driven by desire. If something isn't appealing to us, we're just not going to do it for very long. And that brings us to the second law. Make it attractive.
So how do you do that? Well, there's a great technique called temptation bundling. You basically pair an action you need to do with an action you want to do. For example, maybe you want to start exercising. So you make a new rule for yourself. You're only allowed to listen to your favorite Can't Live Without It playlist while you're at the gym. Pretty soon, your brain starts to link the workout with the pleasure of the music.
Now for the third law, and honestly, this one might be the biggest game changer. Our brains are wired to conserve energy. We're designed to take the path of least resistance. If a habit feels like too much work, we'll just find an excuse not to do it. So, the solution? Make your new habits incredibly easy to start.
This is all about lowering the friction. You want to start jogging? Don't make your goal a 5K run. No, just commit to jogging for 5 minutes. Or you know what? Even easier, just commit to putting on your running shoes and walking out the door. You make that first step so ridiculously easy that it's impossible to say no. The momentum will take care of the rest.
And that brings us to the final law. Our brains absolutely love immediate gratification. For a habit to really stick, our brain needs to get a little hit of satisfaction right after we do it. The reward has to feel immediate.
And listen, this doesn't have to be some huge reward. It can be something as simple as this. Get a calendar, and every day you complete your new habit, draw a big, satisfying X on that day. Seeing that chain of X's grow is a really powerful immediate reward. It creates this visual proof of your progress, and you won't want to break the chain. Okay,
So we know the 4 laws for building good habits, but what about the other side of the coin? What about getting rid of the bad ones? Well, the logic is just as simple and elegant. We just take those 4 laws we just learned and we flip them completely upside down.
So, to break a bad habit, you do the exact opposite. Instead of making it obvious, you make it invisible. If you eat too much junk food, don't buy it. Get it out of the house. Instead of attractive, you make it unattractive. Remind yourself of the negative consequences. Instead of easy, you make it difficult. Add friction. Delete the social media apps from your phone. And finally, instead of satisfying, you make the consequence unsatisfying.
Now, this next part is where all these little tips and tricks really come together into something, well, something profound. Because the real goal of building habits isn't just about what you get. It's about who you become. Let's talk about how these small actions actually forge our identity.
See, most of us set behavior-based goals, like, I'm going to study every day. And that's fine, but it's nowhere near as powerful as an identity-based goal. I am a diligent student. The first one is about an outcome you want. The second one is about who you are. And when your identity starts to shift, your behaviors just naturally follow along.
You have to think of it this way. Every single action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to become. Every time you study for just 10 minutes, you cast a vote for, I am a diligent student. Every time you go for a run, even a short one, you cast a vote for, I am a runner. Your habits literally become the evidence that proves your new identity to yourself.
And this forces us to ask a much bigger, much more important question. It's not, what do I want to achieve? The real question is, who do I wish to become? Once you decide on the person you want to be, you can start proving it to yourself with these small, daily wins, with your atomic habits.
So, to wrap all of this up into one incredibly practical, you can do this right now takeaway, here it is, the 2-minute rule. Whatever new habit you want to start, I want you to scale it down so that the very first version of it takes less than 2 minutes. Read every day becomes read 1 page. Do yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. It's not about the result, it's about mastering the art of just showing up.
And that leaves us with one final and really the most crucial question. And this one isn't for me, it's for you. Because this isn't just about learning something new, it's about doing something new. So what is the one simple 2-minute habit you can start today to cast that very first vote for the person you want to become?